The following presentation is an AI-free production, 100% researched, written, and edited by actual human beings. All mistakes are purely human error, guaranteed.
Hello, dig for bones.
I don't think anyone knows that I'm the one cut off your toes and put them in the drawer with the sock.
Hello, and welcome to the Least Haunted Podcast, a place where science, skepticism, humor, and anthropology meet to discuss all things spooky, haunting, supernatural, and sometimes just the plain ridiculous. I'm your host, Cody Franks, and round the least haunted hearth, filled with questions and filled with mirth, with a tune and an instrument in the hand, he's a veritable one-man rocking band. Quick with his wit and loves a good larf. Joining me today, as almost always, is...
Garth. Hi. Okay, so now that you said that, I have to make sure I have an instrument in my hand. Hold on. Just a second. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. Hello, everybody.
You have to have the
It's me,
instrument
Garth.
to make it true.
I always am holding an instrument in my hand. Hey, welcome to the Least Haunted Podcast, y'all. This is a special. It's so special you changed up your intro a little bit. It's a holiday episode, one of the first of two. This is like a normal episode, actually, but it's about holiday-related things, I believe.
Yeah. Well, so that intro in the form of the verse this time instead of a traditional Garth's moniker.
Yeah, that's good.
Shout out to Ken with 2 N's or Monaken with 3 on the Discord. I tweaked it a little bit and added a line just to make the rhyming scheme flow better. But yes,
I like having my intro in verse. That could be a fun talking about starting up new traditions for the new year. Spoiler for Garth's Corner. That would be a cool variant to have verses leading to my moniker.
And that choice of going by verse.
That's also more work.
Yes, but the choice of a verse there is there's a reason for that, and it ties into our main episode, our main topic today.
Okay.
So, and we're talking a lot about traditions. So let's talk tradition, okay, Garth?
Okay.
They're very important, you know. Why, without traditions, without them, we'd be as unstable as as unstable as some sort of performer on the top of a house, you know?
Oh, very good. See, I've never seen Fiddler on the Roof, but yes, tradition is very important, I'm told. Apparently
And,
it is, yes.
At this time of the year, it's just chock-a-block full of confusing, puzzling, and sometimes incomprehensible traditions, many of which we previously discussed way back in the double digits, episode 18, You'll Be Home for Christmas, with Dr. Tim King.
Yeah.
We talked about a bunch of traditions that are associated with the winter solstice and Christmas time. And today we're going to talk about...
All I remember is I remember hanging dad animals up on an actual live tree, and that being the beginning of... That was one of my big takeaways
of ornaments.
From that one. Yeah, the ornaments, the history of ornaments. So yes, I'm sorry, I cut you off. What are we talking about today?
So we're going to talk about a particular Christmas tradition from Wales. One that has grown in popularity on the internet over the last few years. It's captured imaginations as being one of those like slightly creepy or off-putting traditions,
wonderful.
Similar to a Krampus. And then it's like spreading almost a meme-like across the internet around this time of the year. In the last several years, it's kind of grown in popularity and more people know about it.
Ooh, I wonder if I've heard of this. I'm curious what it is.
And as we're going to find out, this is not the first time that this sort of tradition or this very thing has spread in such a viral fashion. Today, we're going to be talking about the Mari Llwyd. Garth, have you ever heard of Mari Llwyd?
The Mari Llwyd.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but like so often happens, I don't remember the name, but you'll start to describe it and maybe I have heard of it. So please tell me more.
Okay, so Mari Llwyd, the name... So when I say Mari Llwyd, it's referring to both a character and a performance. Like, it is the thing that happens. It's also the Mari Llwyd.
When you say Mary, is it like Mary as in Merry Christmas or the name Mary?
Mari. It's Welsh.
Oh, okay.
And what the name means is it's people debate the direct translation, but it basically means gray mare or gray
Hmm.
Mary. The question is Mary being used as the name of a person's name, Mary, or is it being used to describe the fact that it involves a horse, which would be mare
A
as in a
mare.
horse? Yeah.
Yeah.
And why it involves a horse is it is a horse's skull
Ah.
on a pole that is got a white sheet draped around it and ribbons and various other brightly colored pieces of cloth sometimes tied to it.
Oh, wow.
The eyes have been replaced with glass baubles or balls of glass or shiny objects
Aha.
are in the eyes, and it's been rigged up so that its mouth can chomp up and down.
Whoa.
So it's like a puppet, and there's somebody
Wow.
inside who is puppeting this thing. And so here's what would happen with if you were to encounter the Mari Llwyd, and then it happens again. It's quite people argue about when is the proper time that this happens. Some people say that this is a winter solstice thing, or that it happens on Christmas Eve. In some places, it only happens on New Year's Eve. Uh,
Huh.
and we're talking about Wales. This happens in the country of Wales, particularly
Okay.
in far southern Wales. An area called
Hmm.
I think it's Glamorag is like the very bottom part of Wales, and that's where this tradition occurs. So it is. We'll just say this is the Christmas Eve variant. So it's Christmas Eve, right? You're at home. It's dark. It's cold outside, and you're huddled around the fire, and suddenly you hear the approaching sound of bells and voices singing.
Ah. Oh, I would think, oh, here comes some carolers. How nice.
Yes,
Nothing grotesque is about to happen.
yes, it's wassailers coming, and
Yeah, they just want some
yes,
wassail.
and as it gets closer, it stops outside the door, and there's a knock on the door, and then from outside you hear a sung verse that is known to everybody. You know this verse, you've heard it before, and I'll play a clip of it here.
Wel dyma ni'n dywed gofeision di niwed I ofyn am gynad, I ofyn am gynad, I ofyn am gynad I ganu.
Ah, okay.
In Welsh. And what it is it's basically asking permission to enter the house. Or and then the people inside the house are expected to respond with a corresponding response verse. Like
You're not vampires, are you? Okay, come on in.
well, no, and so it's a game that goes back and forth of these verses that correspond to each other and escalate. And it is a game that will only end when one side forgets the next verse that is supposed to come.
Oh, that's cool. So it's a long. They're different each time, so it must be a very long song.
It can go on for hours.
But but it's scripted, so like they
Well,
need to remember. They might
yes.
forget, right?
Yes, and so it's the traditional that's passed on. Like people know the verses, and it can be improvised. So it has a little bit of a
Oh,
rap
wow.
battle, and so people can improvise new verses. And if the verse is good enough and it sticks in the memory, it's added to the repertoire for next year. So next year when it
Oh,
comes
that's
around, that's
awesome.
in. And usually it's the older members of the household who know the most verses because they've done this the most times and they memorize
Is there
them.
a rule? Is there a rule against like having it written down and reading off of it if you're supposed to memorize it?
I don't know.
Okay. Because it sounds like they're waiting for someone to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Is what it sounds like. Okay.
And it's expected that the people inside the house will lose because
Mm-hmm.
the point is that Mari Llwyd, this horse puppet with its entourage, it is being
Right.
led by because the person inside the costume can't see out. It is being led around by a man in fine dress who is leading it on a bridle or a halter and leads it around. And then with them is usually they've got a few other like stock characters like Punch and Judy from the Punch and Judy puppet show.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah.
often hanging out with the Mari Llwyd and are part of the group. There's almost always, a man in drag dressed as a woman. So usually that Judy is actually a man in drag.
Oh, okay.
And it is possible that they could lose and go away, but you don't want that to happen because having Mari Llwyd and the entourage come inside and cause mayhem is considered good luck. So once they gain entrance into the house, they chase the women and the children around with the horse puppet chomping around. And then
fun times.
yeah, and
Great.
then they kind of mess things up a bit. And then they are given alcohol and warm drink and food, and everybody starts partying and hanging out for a bit. And then they clean things up. The Judy figure usually will sweep out the fireplace, and that is also considered like good luck. And then they leave and they move on to the next house and do it again.
You couldn't do this too many times a night. This is involved. This isn't trick-or-treating or singing one carol. This is like doing this back and forth, and you finally get in, and then you party more. I mean,
Well,
you
keep in
couldn't
mind-
do this
keep
in
in
one
mind-
house in under an hour.
Well, keep in mind also that like towns were smaller back then.
I guess so, yeah. So you'd only,
Some of these are isolated farm communities, so it's not
Okay.
like that, and so that is what Mari Llwyd is. This
Cool,
this
cool.
performance. It's this and the men who are leading the costume around and in the costume, they're the local farm hands and members of the community. The colored pieces of cloth that are tied to it sometimes are donated by the spouses or like partners of the men in the party.
Oh, okay.
And so there is this kind of like question of there's like a fertility aspect to this, like you're blessing
Oh,
the house,
maybe.
right? And we're going to get into this.
Yeah.
We're going to get into all the questions about what it means and why. And as it turns out, it is not. So Mari Llwyd is unique to Wales, at least that name in that kind of way it's done. But the actual performance is not isolated. It shows up in other parts of England, in Britain. Like it's in Ireland, it's on the Isle of Man. They do it in Wales. There's a version in Cornwall. They're not always with horse skulls that are, but they are almost always depictions of a horse.
Ah,
And there's a thing that's called a hobby horse.
I've heard of this. Is that like a rocking horse, or like the horse that like is on a stick that kids
Yes,
like
it's
play around on?
it's the horse on a stick that kids play on.
Yeah.
There's actually like 3 different kind of types of a hobby horse. So hobby horses,
I think I had one as a kid.
Yeah.
Now that I think about
so
it.
there's like 3 kinds that they talk about. There's one that's called a attorney hobby horse, and it's meant to look like a person riding a horse, so it's more elaborate in that it usually has a skirt of fabric that hangs down, and a person's body is sticking up as if they're the rider of the horse, and their legs are
that's fun.
right, yeah.
Yeah. So the legs are fake. Yeah.
Yeah. And those are usually used in like actual fake little tournaments, like fake jousts and performances. Then there's the one that is called the sieve, and it's made out of a farming sieve frame, which would be a big hoop that usually has a screen in it. And they would take the screen out and then use that hoop as and cover it in fabric. And then they'd have a stick coming out with a wooden horse head. And then there's the mast, which is the kind that is just a long stick with a horse head at the end, like the Mari Llwyd, or the kind that you would have as a kid that you run around on. But this is very common across Britain. In the area of Kent, in England, it's called hodening or hoodening, and in this case, it's this thing called a hooden horse, and it's one of those sieve types of the horse puppet, and it has a mouth that's clamps and champs, and they do a similar thing where it goes around in a procession, and they go door to door, and they do the same kind of ritual. Not the call and response, but it is just going around and getting booze from people, and it always has a person in drag who's hanging out with it, and so forth. And so the question is like, why are they doing this, and what's it all mean, and how did it start, right? That's the things with
Yes,
any
I'm very
tradition.
curious about this. And it does have similarities to other traditions we've heard of, like caroling and kind
Yes.
of like trick or treat and all the rest of that. So
And
yeah, I'm
tied
very
into
curious what the
wassailing,
history
you
is.
know?
Yeah, totally.
Here's the thing, though. Some of those ones that are spread all over are not done at Christmas time. Some are done on May Day in the spring. Others are done on the
Ah.
summer solstice. So they move around.
Oh.
And it's not isolated entirely to Britain either. You find variations of this around Northern Europe and into Europe itself. In like German areas, it tends to be instead of a horse, it's a goat.
Ah.
Um,
Okay. Probably because in that local area there were more goats around.
mhm.
I don't know.
In s-
The local farmers had different animals on hand, so I'm sure it varies by region.
in some places, it's not a horse; it's a dragon. And there's like
Oh.
there's festivals about they enact the story of Saint George and the dragon. And so they have
Oh
this like
yeah, yeah.
hobby horse that's actually a hobby dragon, and it's being dragged around. And then at the end
Nah.
they shoot it with a gun and kill it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very modern. I thought they would do a sword like like the original story.
So let's real quick, let's try to like parse out some of the symbolism, Garth,
Okay.
and see if we can like make sense of what's going on, and then maybe from that we can deduce, how old this tradition might be.
You mentioned the fertility thing with the
Yeah,
different fabrics from the ladies.
there's this idea that maybe because it involves a skull and death,
Yeah.
that almost makes us want to assume that it's a pre-Christian pagan belief, right?
That looks like it, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of
Has this-
yeah. You think of pagans.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
this look of, okay, this is some like maybe old druid Celtic thing, There's been some thought that maybe it's tied to actually the Celtic tradition, holiday of Samhain, like Halloween. This is actually like an All Souls Day thing.
Ah.
Or that it is the white horse of death, because on the Isle of Man and in Ireland, their version of it, the name translates to white horse or gray horse, and then Mari Llwyd also means gray Mary or gray horse. So there's this connection of maybe the color gray or white to death, and if it's happening
Mm.
at the darkest time of the year, when the
Mhm.
year is dying, that kind of makes sense. Like, oh, you're being visited by the specter of death.
Yeah. All a lot of the plants around are dying. It's sort of the season of life slowing down and hibernating.
Yeah. And so then when it leaves, it's like, oh, the specter of death has passed on, and now life can return, and we're ready for the new year. Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe, right?
That is a good hypothesis or theory. No,
yeah.
hypothesis.
But as we're going to find out, there's different reasons that have nothing to do with any of that for why this is going on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I guess this is where I'll do the big reveal. It turns out
I can tell you've been waiting to do a big reveal.
Yeah.
I can just tell. Okay, go for it.
this tradition is not ancient. This is not,
Oh.
yeah, this is not some, ancient Celtic festival from antiquity.
It was made to sound ancient. All the trappings of it sound ancient.
In fact, there is no mention of Mari Llwyd until the year 1800.
Oh, really?
No historical documents. You have no depictions in
Oh,
art. There's no.
That is
Yeah,
interesting.
it is not documented in any way prior to that. And in fact, all these weird hobby horse traditions also are not that ancient. There seems to be a point when they caught on and they spread all over Europe. And we're going to discuss their origin, why it caught on, how it became the Mari Llwyd, because that's the real interesting part of this entire story. But first, we have to
Now
go.
that's how you get ready to dig for bones.
So now we got to go dig for, the horse skull, and we're going to see what's going on.
We're gonna see how old this horse skull really is. Maybe it's pretty new.
We at the Least Haunted Podcast stand with those of the LGBTQIA+ community and especially want to voice our support for the trans community, masculine, feminine, non-binary, and every other of the beautiful assortment of people who are going through so much vitriol and hate in these difficult times.
We welcome you to join our friendly and supportive Discord, and if you want to help support the community or need help yourself, we fully endorse the Trans Lifeline at translifeline.org. We can get through this together.
You are all deserving of life and love. And remember,
The world's more beautiful with you in it.
Boy, weren't those some bones. They sure, boy, I can't even, they're always bones, but those were some bones, weren't they? Oh, man.
Okay,
Weren't they?
they were.
Oh, there he is.
They were. So, these hobby horses, they're part of a bunch of traditions and festivals all over Europe. And, okay, hold on. Traditions. They're wacky. Yes, they're sometimes you don't understand.
Traditions, they're stupid, right? Yeah, they're really dumb.
Well, the thing is that the
Traditions.
original reason for many traditions or the function of them has long since been lost. That's the thing is we just do it because we do
the
it.
The tradition about traditions is that we do it because it's a tradition.
Yes, but
it explains itself in what it's called so that the nonsense can continue forever.
yeah. So
That's what makes it a tradition.
so at some point there was some kind of function or reason that these things start, and then eventually that sometimes those reasons just get retconned and changed for new purposes.
Oh, yeah.
That happens.
Mhm.
Or as in the case of the Mari Llwyd, nobody remembers, nobody knows.
And it wasn't that long ago, apparently.
Yes.
And still no one knows.
Yes. So even when you would ask people, okay, so the Mari Llwyd actually had its heyday, eating the horse's heyday. Like I said,
Yeah.
it wasn't mentioned until 1800, and then
Right.
by the late 19th century, by like the early 1900s, even. It is discontinued. People are not doing this anymore. There are writings from folklorists who are trying to figure it out in like the 1880s, and they're interviewing older people who talk about their youth. And one was like, "Oh yeah, we did it in my village when I was a girl," but even then, it was an old tradition that like nobody really did anymore. It was already out of fashion.
Well, if it's in the 1880s and someone who's old is saying they did it as a kid, they're talking about like the 1820s or 30s.
Yes.
And if back then it was already old, but no one heard of it before the 1800s, it sounds like it was popular for like 5 years and immediately was already seeming to be old, and then no one did it 20 years after that.
Well, we're gonna
Sounds like a very short period of time.
So yeah, the hobby horses are key to all of this, by the way.
Okay.
Because they're a
okay.
funnier character than we've ever had. If we could make them work, never mind. George
Yeah.
Lucas there.
Okay.
So they really were a meme, as it turns out. Hobby horses had a period of time where they were a fad in Europe. And
It was the hula hoops of the 1810s.
kind of, but a little bit older. So there's no mentions of them in art or depictions of them in, like, say, the Middle Ages.
Okay.
The hobby horses start being represented in art and written about and mentioned in Europe, maybe like in the 1500s is like the earliest. So I guess that's like late, you're like getting into, late, was that Middle Ages into the
Yeah, kind of.
Renaissance,
Somewhere in between. Renaissance
yeah.
is maybe getting going in the 1500s a bit, yeah.
Yeah. So you start seeing these springing up, usually in the tourney style, which is the one that, remember, it's like a hoop with a cloth that hangs down and it looks like a person riding a horse. Those catch on and it seems that, like, specifically nobility are really into hobby horses.
They love having well, there's something delightful about those fake legs flopping around, and it looks like they're your legs, and then, who's the legs of the horse? It's, yeah.
Well, yeah, so in particular, they like to hire groups called mummers to put on shows at parties.
Hmm.
And they sometimes, and a hobby horse would be part of the show, and they do little fake tournaments and jousts and stuff. And the rich just love it. The more complicated and intricate, the better. It's a fad.
Okay.
While doing the research, I kept falling down these weird traditional rabbit holes that lead just a little bit further back and get a little bit stranger. So, mummers are traveling groups of actors, usually all male. In fact, your Shakespeare theater group are kind of mummers, but they have their own theater, so they're not moving around and doing like traveling shows. But mummers would be hired to come for parties and events as entertainment. And they actually had another component, which is they would show up, they'd do their performance, they would do a play, they might juggle, there'd be like it's like a vaudeville act, basically. You're seeing a bunch of stuff going on. And then they would become like the game masters and set up a gambling den and organized gambling. And they'd be running the tables. And so then the party becomes a gambling party. And this eventually becomes such a problem that like the church gets involved and is like, yeah, none of that. It's you're bringing sin into the houses. No more gambling associated with it. And so then after the gambling is discontinued, it becomes just more of like, okay, we're going to come do a show. And often they'd be paid in, besides money, you get food and alcohol. This is actually kind of like tied in with wassailing. It's a similar thing where they start traveling around. And the mummers began even further back than that. It used to be these things called mystery plays that were done across Europe in the late Middle Ages. In origin, it was living tableaus.
This is where everybody holds really still.
Yes.
It looks like a Madame Tussauds sculpture with backgrounds and stuff. And that's the whole thing. No one moves. You look at how cool it is, and then that's it.
And these were being done they were organized by the churches, and it was the clergy who were the living tableau. And then these eventually start becoming more of plays, and the plays are telling Bible stories. Eventually, Pope Leo III, I think it is, he says that clergy cannot debase themselves by participating in these events, that it's beneath them. And so then you get these troops of actors, the mummers, who take over and become the people who do these plays. And once it's now no longer tied so closely to the church, then they start branching out and having different stories that aren't church related. You start having comedies and farces.
I feel bad for all those priests who were like suddenly discovering that they were really actors and that was their passion, and like they get to do this thing, and then the Pope says, nope, you don't get to do that anymore.
And the name mummer,
hire outside people.
And the name mummer, it might come from either like an old German mum, like when you say mum is the word to be silent or quiet, and it also might have roots similar to like
mime.
Exactly, mime, because the original tableaus were silent.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
But it also could be derived from the Greek word, I think it's mamos, which means mask. And it's because they're actors and they're wearing masks. So those are the two possible things for mummers. Eventually, mummers adopt in the hobby horse because it's popular. And so then once they're also like, they're not just doing shows for nobility, but they're also doing shows for common people that people can go watch and pay to see. And so hobby horses spread and become popular. And as they're more popular with the nobility, the common folk like to emulate what's popular with the rich. It trickles down, you see. And they...
I see, yes.
And so they start having their own mummers plays with hobby horses. Tied to this is also a thing called the Morris dance, at least in Britain. The Morris dance was also a fad that was spreading, and it's a type of synchronized dance, usually involving men with bells tied to their ankles or their elbows. And they have sticks that they tap rhythmically, and they do this like choreographed little dance around the town, and there's like drinking and
river stomp.
Yeah, and it becomes that like each town has their own Morris dance crew, and then they compete. It becomes a competition thing where people have like competing Morris dances.
Let's see you dance, sucker, you got nothing on me.
Yeah, how you like that, y'all?
Oh, that's great.
In the 1600s, the Morris dancers also start incorporating hobby horses, because it's, again, the hobby horse has become the fad.
Right.
Now, the name Morris for Morris dance gives us a clue in a way actually to where the hobby horses even come from to begin with. And it's that Morris might be a anglicization or mispronunciation of Moorish, meaning the Moors of Spain. Because remember,
Okay.
prior to
Right.
the 1400s, Spain is Muslim. It's
That's
Moorish
right.
Spain.
Yeah, the Moors, yeah.
Yes. And that might be also,
Wasn't Othello a Moor?
I think so.
Yeah.
So, as it turns out, there was a fad for anything that was kind of Moorish with the rich as well. And so that's why like the Morris dancers catch on, because it's a dance in the Moorish style is what they said. And today I can assure you today the Morris dance is the whitest fucking thing you've ever seen. There is nothing left of that Islamic
Yeah,
influence.
you really want to see it 500 years ago because it is not what it once was.
Or it is what, white people would have interpreted as ethnic.
Yeah.
at the
Or
time.
yeah, exactly. I wonder. Yeah. Or I wonder maybe dance has just developed such that all dance, even the hippest dance ever 500 years ago, looks really silly to us now.
So-
curious about that.
These hobby horses that are going door to door, your Mari Llwyd, the Hooden horse, there's one called Old Tup, there's a whole bunch of them all over Britain. They might be actually the remnants of this fad of hobby horses and Morris dancers. And then that got in certain areas kind of mixed in with the wassailing tradition that we've already spoken about in our other episode. And so they're already doing this at this time of year. And it's just like, we'll just combine the two things together. It's also why Punch and Judy show up, because they were also popular with Morris groups and their stock characters that got folded in. And and then it just becomes this like brief tradition that even by like the late 1700s was already falling out of fashion. Like in Wales, they're only doing it in like one or two counties. It's not even
They've
that.
really upped the spookiness though, because they're using actual horse skulls that like are attached to have jaws that open and close.
Yeah, because the one like the Hooden horse is a wooden horse head. It's not a skull. So it's not always a skull. In some places, it's even just like a sack filled with straw that is tied in such a way to look like a horse.
Oh, I see.
So it really is only in a few places where they're like, well, what really looks like a horse's head? A skull, Like,
Yeah.
Why bother carving a wooden horse head if I can just take a horse's skull and do that,
It turns out it was just like a very last minute thing because no one had taken the time to carve a skull. Oh, we'll just use this, and hey, it stuck.
Yeah, but then it's also because it's happening in the around the winter solstice, it's very easy to like, just retroactively say, oh yeah, well, it represents, death. And or some people say that they in some parts of Wales, because also each village has their own version, basically. And they have they might have their different verses for the song depending on where you are, because it's a different area. It has its own long tradition of verses. And in some areas, Mari Llwyd is said to be a horse that got kicked out of the stable to make room for Mary and Joseph and Jesus. And now it's wandering for a place, which seems kind of mean-spirited.
It does, yeah.
know?
It's cute, but it's also mean.
And others, they say like, oh, well, the name Mary is actually supposed to be like the Virgin Mary, and it's tied to that.
That's what I was actually
Right.
thinking. I was wondering about that, yeah.
So for a while in the late 1800s, it was considered just, people just accepted it as fact, or really held this idea that, no, this is an ancient pre-Christian thing. But by like the 1970s, now that theory or that hypothesis has been pretty much disproven by historical documentation, and the evidence we have shows that like, no, this is a thing that started in like the 16th, 17th century. By the 19th century, it was already an old tradition and fad. It'd be like somebody having a fidget spinner now. or doing the Macarena. It'd actually
Right.
probably like doing the Macarena. It's like, why the
It
hell
sounds
are
like
you
the
doing that?
Macarena. Yeah.
like, why are
no
you
one
doing
now
that?
likes it.
Yeah.
We did it when I was a kid, and even then it was dumb.
Yeah, it might show up at
Yeah.
like, a wedding reception somewhere, but only the
Right.
old people do it.
And they're doing it sarcastically.
Yeah.
And ironically. Yeah.
So it's Moorish, right? And it catches on, and it turns out, I was reading this article where they actually were able to trace the hobby horse tradition to about the 9th century in Baghdad, of all places.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so even actually in a few writings about the Prophet Muhammad, it mentions people riding a reed horse between their legs. And
Wow.
they don't call it a hobby horse. I should have explained the name hobby horse, why it's called a hobby horse.
No one's getting paid, otherwise it'd be a
Is that
profession horse.
The term hobby, is in like, what is your hobby, refers to the hobby horse. And it's because there was a time when there was an expression, which was to ride one's hobby horse, which meant to do something frivolous that you enjoyed, that didn't really serve a purpose.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And the reason it's called a hobby horse is because hobby horse actually used to be a size designation for a type of horse. So it was like a larger...
Like a little horse.
Yeah, it's a larger pony that was used for specific tasks. And so that was like the hobby horse. And so when people are making these fake horses that they're riding around on, it's like the same size. Like, oh, by extension, that's a hobby horse. Then you get the term to have your hobby from that. But in Baghdad, they called it a karaj.
Uh-huh.
And in some of these writings from like Muslim historians who are talking about the karaj and the use of it, it's almost exclusively used to describe somebody who is an effeminate man or even possibly homosexual. So
the term karaj?
The use of it is tied to... So there's an example of one author who was describing 3 members of the court as effeminate men. And he says, they rode the karaj, but they were not homosexuals. He just wanted to set that straight.
Wow, that's interesting. So was to ride a hobby horse somehow in and of itself seeming like that, or is it a metaphor?
That's the question.
How do you pull that apart? What are they saying?
So they're saying, so it seems that the version that they're talking about also is the tourney style that has the skirt that hangs down. So it might be that they are... It's trying to imply that they
like
like
you're wearing a dress.
They like to wear a dress, but they also like to see masculine riding a horse. So it's almost like an underhanded way of saying, oh yeah, they're riding the hobby horse. It's like, when you say that, like, oh, that gay guy's beard is his like female friend who acts like his...
Right. Well, and maybe because it's not an actual horse, it's a fake horse. It's like, oh, you're doing a shadow imitation of what real men do, right?
Yes.
Real horses, maybe something like that. Okay.
But from this historical evidence, it is clear that these things did exist. There was a karaj, and there was one other kind, variation, that was the kind that's just a stick.
That's a sad hobby horse. It's just a stick. No horse head on the top.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of actual like Muslim accounts of these hobby horses, these karajas, and of course the Moors of Spain are Muslim. And so the tradition moves with them into Spain. And then around the time of the end of Moorish Spain, the reconquest of Spain, as they call it, the Reconquista, it catches on as a fad. Maybe initially to like mock things that are Moorish, but they're still kind of like, oh no, we're going to like... It's hard to say.
Yeah, they might have started off as mocking it, but then they decided, oh, we actually really like this hobby horse thing. This is ours now.
And then when the common folk do it, are they doing it because they want to emulate the rich necessarily, or is it also likewise mocking it?
Well, that was the other thing I was thinking of when you brought up people in court do it. And then I could imagine maybe more working people like peasants would be making fun of the ridiculous eccentricities of the aristocracy, and they're on their hobby horses.
Yeah.
So I can see there being a class thing there too. Yeah.
One of the earliest mentions to hobby horses in Europe, not because you have it in the 9th century, they're talking about it in Baghdad, but it is in 1261. The Diocese of Elne in southwestern France puts an edict against wearing or against using the hobby horse. And they describe that like young people in the village were, here's the quote. It says, certain young people of a particular village customarily came and mounted on a wooden horse, or in Latin, super equum lignum, and masked and armed led dances on the eves of the feasts of the church and in the cemetery.
Ah, in the cemetery. Interesting.
And then they ban it because it's seen as being somewhat pagan. In this case, when they're saying pagan, it's not that it's pre-Christian, paganism like Celtic. They mean it's pagan because it's Muslim.
Oh, because pagan is anything not Christian.
Exactly.
So another religion like Islam would count as pagan.
So
right?
later when people are reading these accounts, like, they said it was pagan, they assume they're meaning, it's like a pre-Christian European thing. But really what they mean is, no, it's not Christian. It's Moorish.
Right. Okay.
Right? They ban it in Elne. And then there's an account of a young man who goes into the church, quote, in the wooden horse, in equilignio. Not before they said on, here it's in, which might mean that this means that he is wearing a tourney version with the skirt. He is in the wooden horse.
He's within the costume of it, not
Yes.
riding on top of it. Yeah.
And when he crosses into the church, the horse bursts into flames and the young man was killed. A sign, some thought, of divine judgment. This guy says, but perhaps no more than an accident of pyrotechnics, meaning maybe they have at this point they're trying to make elaborate horse costumes with sparklers and stuff, and he caught fire.
They glow on the inside, and then it caught fire.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right as he crossed the threshold into church. It's too bad that worked out that way.
So that's where these ideas of it, becoming being a pre-Christian thing enter in, is that you have edicts by church groups and eventually even like the church as a whole against the hobby horse as being some form of idolatry or non-Christian paganism. But it's not because it's Celtic, it's because these things are catching on as an influence of the Muslims in Islam, because we're still having some late crusades at the time too, so it's also possible that it came back with some crusaders. They brought
that was my initial thought when you mentioned that it was Islam. I was like, I'll bet it came to Europe through the crusades, but I had totally forgotten that that Spain was Muslim for a while, and then
And
So
there's
it came in through there.
in the region of Andalusia in Spain, there's a few festivals to this day with hobby horses. One very elaborate where these costumes are riders on horses, but the riders themselves are like puppets. It's all very complex.
Whoa, cool.
The popularity of hobby horse did have a survivor that led on later, which is the trope of I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's when you have two people in a horse costume, like somebody's the horse's butt and the other person's the horse's front.
Yeah.
And
There's a word for that, but I don't know what it is. Yeah, that's a two-man horse, I think. Something like that.
But it became a real popular thing in vaudeville acts, but it started actually in England. Is where that began, and it was a specific guy who started it. God damn it, I can't remember his name. I had him in my notes. I had a whole tab open and was reading about him. That's what I was realizing, this is way deeper and wider than you'd think. In Baghdad, the 9th century, it's questionable if that tradition started there and spread into the West as well as in the East, because in Southeast Asia and into India, there is also things that are very similar to a hobby horse, of people wearing fake horses and doing dances. Or did the people in Baghdad, did they get it from Southeast Asia via the Silk Road and trade routes? We don't know. We do not know the actual origin of hobby horses. I mean, the idea of people dressing up as animals, that's ancient. That is an old thing.
Yeah, people have been doing that since forever, I'm sure.
But it seems that this specific context of or genre of people doing this horse thing, or sometimes goat thing, had its origins with the Moors and spread in, and then adopted local customs that got put on it. But why? Yeah, but Mari Llwyd, going back to that.
So it sounds like Mari Llwyd may be a pretty modern thing, but has all of these pieces that are much older. It just got combined together in a surprisingly recent time.
And it caught on for a brief time in Wales, in this case, in like one county where all the different villages had their version of it and were doing it. And then the fad just kind of fell out of fashion. It seems that in Wales it started to fall out of fashion because they started to have, it was almost like a resurgent of Methodism, like the Methodist Church was growing, and it was putting a stamp down on anything that was seen as, they did not like folk customs of Welsh folk customs because they were deemed to be pagan. Because in many cases they actually were pre-Christian Celtic traditions that were going on there. Not necessarily the case with Mari Llwyd. It might have picked up some, but yeah, it's from this other thing. But when the Methodists were on the rise and getting more influence, they were stamping down all these things. And so that might have been one reason why the Mari Llwyd was falling out of fashion by the mid 19th century. It was documented as like only being practiced in one place by 1935. And then it kind of starts becoming popular again because of a few folklorists who are researching it. This is when they start really leaning into the pre-Christian hypothesis. There's a Welsh poet, Vernon Watkins. He writes. He's a Welsh poet, and he wrote a book that was called "The Ballad of Mari Llwyd and Other Poems," in which he talks about the Mari Llwyd as being a New Year's Eve tradition and coming at midnight on New Year's Eve, as well as with the risen dead. There's a lot of metaphors talking about the dead in their grave. And so really leaning into that, this is a symbol of the death of the year and then a new year that comes. And so that gets some more popularity. The recording I most likely played earlier is from the 1950s, and it was the BBC documenting a Mari Llwyd tradition, I think in that Glam Morag, Wales. And then it kind of starts becoming more popular again in the 1970s.
So it never disappeared completely, but it was kind of very low level, and it started to pick up steam again.
Yeah, it faded out, and then I think probably in the 70s it was because you were getting people who were interested in like neo-paganism again. New Age movement.
The New Age movement would have gotten into that.
And so operating under the assumption that this was an ancient pre-Christian Celtic thing, it gets revitalized.
Would it be the only thing that the New Age movement figured was an old ancient thing that wasn't? Yeah.
And so now it's much more common and it's spread to other areas. I mean, the other hobby horse traditions never died down. They kept going. So you still have festivals, like the Hodening Horse still happens. A bunch of them are still going on all over Europe. They're still doing this. But Mari Llwyd kind of seemed to die out for a bit, and now it's having a resurgence. Really caught on with the internet probably around COVID. Not entirely sure why.
It sounds like this has gotten way popular in the last couple of years online. I haven't seen any of this as far as I know.
Yeah, that's kind of how it got on my radar. I'm pretty sure it was Ken on the Discord who originally suggested this topic, but I was like aware of it. Yeah, because a few years ago, like a lot of YouTube videos and blogs and podcasts were talking about it. And I don't know exactly why it caught on with our collective imagination at this time, but it is like, it's a fad that comes and goes of the hobby horses. A real fun follow-up is that I discovered, so I had a hobby horse when I was a kid, the mast type that's just a stick with a horse head. Its name
I
was
think that was the one I had. I think mine was red.
Mine was gray with different different colored patches, like little squares all over it. And so I named it
Mm,
Patches. And I
nice.
remember getting it at the Santa Cruz County Fair when I was
Oh,
about
cool.
5 because I participated in a hobby horse race.
Wow.
And I won Patches. and
Right
so
on.
that was my hobby horse. And it turns out there still is according to Wikipedia, it's called a pseudo sport of hobby horsing, which is people who do like jumps like you would on like horse jumps and dressage and running around on horses, but they're doing it on
Hobby horse dressage. That's
Yes,
great.
and it's a thing there's hobby horse associations who they have
Wow.
shows and there's awards you can get, and yeah, this niche thing that is hobby horsing.
Hobby horse jousting? Is there hobby horse jousting?
Well, I don't know why they didn't incorporate. Oh, that's why. That's why the hobby horses weren't in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Hobby horses hadn't become a fad in Europe at that point in history.
That's right. And Monty Python would never have done something anachronistically. So yeah, they couldn't have included it if they wanted to.
Yeah, that's why they had the coconuts. I bet there was a point where
Yeah.
like one of them was all, well, maybe they could ride hobby horses, and then it was,
Oh, who was it that was the historian? One of them actually would have known better.
he's the he's Terry Jones. I think Terry Jones
Terry Jones. Yeah,
was
you're
the
right. I think it
Terry
was Terry
Jones.
Jones
Yeah,
that was
the
he was
the medievalist.
the medievalist.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and so he would have been like, "No, John,
Nope.
we can't have hobby
Can't do the
horses.
hobby
They didn't
horses."
have them yet, but coconuts, yes."
Yes. You found a coconut in Mercia? All right. Cool. Well, that was really good. Is that the whole thing?
Yeah, I think that's it, and then we're gonna get into Garth's corner.
There's a Garth's Corner coming up. I've written the lyrics. I haven't done the music yet, but I'm just going to recite them, and maybe it'll work as a poem. I haven't actually read this since I wrote it, so we'll see if it hangs together. Here we go. Well, you've tinseled all your holly and your chestnuts crack-a-lackin' over a fire half covered by socks so big you can't imagine. The foot that fits within it holds what you hoped would be the spirit of Christmas, but it ain't, so you continue to decorate. You've been filling up your reindeer trough with wassail and medallions, and a hand-whittled Pavel Chekhov completes your ornamental battalions. On the tree that you killed, oh, Santa, won't Santa be thrilled? Does it feel like Christmas yet? Not really, so let's get several friends together dashing through the snow on a tractor. 2 ladles, soup in a kitchen for the tummies of the poor. The Salvation Army's got a warehouse of bobtail rings and Christmas grouse. So let's shop, 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 maybe even at a store. Is it Christmas yet? No? Okay, well, let's get some more. Keep going with your tractor and your friends from door to door dash. Threaten them with carols. It's trick or treat or ass or grass or cash. And breathe the chilly beauty of the ho-ho-hoing lights. Is it Christmas yet? It's not? Well, something is not right. I've done all the traditions and I still can't feel the spirit. There's something in partaking in rituals, and I fear that it's all been done to death. And my goose of Yule is cooked. There is one tradition left that I have overlooked. It's the tradition of traditioning. It's suddenly so clear. See the humbug smile in this Christmas tradition to invent a new tradition of once in a while. But what will it be? Not another elf on the shelf. Fuck that paranoid mindfuck. We could do better for the kids' mental health. So I have 3 proposals for new holiday rituals. We'll see what Cody thinks in this Garth's Corner that's conceptual. It's not a literal corner, it's a conceptual corner. And so I'm gonna give you 3 new things and see what you think of my new traditions. Are you ready, Cody?
Now that my head is spinning from trying to follow that. Yeah, sure, okay.
All right, here we go. 1. So here's an idea I had of a calendar. I'm gonna call this the calendar break. So we're gonna set up the year so instead of 365 days, it's just 360 days. Now we have 30 days per month for every month, and it's 360 days a year. Well, as you know, it takes 365 days for the sun to go around the earth. So
And some change.
yeah, yes, and like 12
Wait,
hours or
hold on.
6
Did
hours.
you say
6 hours, I
you
think.
just said for the sun to go around the earth? You might want to.
Yeah, from our perspective. So yeah, my point is after December 26th, which is the day after Christmas, we just stop the calendar. Just Just stop it. Stop the days of the week. We're gonna take 5 days off. They're unnamed days, and then we'll just start again Monday the 1st of January, and then we'll recycle. But everybody just gets 5 days off. You don't have a name for the day. No one has any plans. You don't even know what the day is because we don't have a name for it. I think that would be nice just to do a little mental reset. So that's my first tradition.
I'm trying to remember.
I think people. I don't think I'm the first one who's come up with this.
I'm pretty sure we talked about Tim and I talked about something like that was in the Mesoamerican calendar. There are these like black days that just don't exist, or it's like you don't do anything on that day.
Well, and like traditionally the calendar of like the Romans didn't have a January and February. They started on March, which is why October, which sounds like 8, is the 10th month, because they started on what is to us the 3rd month. And they just had 2 months that weren't months because nobody planted crops, so there was no reason to count the days. So like it's nice to have a little break. I'm not suggesting we do it for 2 months, but 5 days, that would be nice.
Oh.
And the other benefit is you have nice round months that aren't like some months longer than others. And it's a nice even 360. So I feel like that's a cool way to go. That's my first idea.
I think
not so much of a tradition as just a break for 5 days.
I think society would crumble and collapse in 5 days if there was like yeah.
Nobody had to be anywhere to do anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Well, if that's the case, we should restructure society so we can take it, because I think we all need a break.
Oh, what's
sometimes.
that? You need kidney dialysis. I'm sorry, not for the next 5 days. You don't.
Okay, well, fine. So I guess hospitals are exempt, but I know this is a slippery slope. Now we're going to
Essential
start
services.
exempting everybody. Suddenly, essential workers have to go work on the 5 days. So
Those 5 days are the busiest shopping days of the year, Garth.
Because everybody's returning their Christmas presents. Is that
you don't know about calendar break madness? It's the big sales. It's bigger than Black Friday. All the savings.
Everybody's got the day off, so we have to be open.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I don't think.
Okay, so my next one, I'm going to call this the year tree. So every Christmas or New Year or solstice or whatever you want, around this time of year, you would plant a tree in a pot. Any kind of tree you like, and then you label it with the number of the new year, and then it grows all year. So you let it grow for a whole year, and then it's a year-old tree next year. And so you decorate it like you would like a Christmas tree. And if it's been a good year, then you keep the plant and you can like keep it going. And if it's been a bad year, you can burn the tree if you want, or you can secretly relabel the tree if you don't want to kill your tree. But the idea would be after many years, you have a whole bunch of trees that are all a year apart and all are labeled with the year, and you can see them kind of grow, and it gives you a visual progress of time. This works a lot better if you don't move a lot, because you don't want to be taking a bunch of trees with you wherever you go. But
Wait.
I think that would be kind of a neat thing.
Oh, okay. So you're saying you plant a new tree every year?
Yeah. You would get a sapling that's like a fresh tree, or maybe you plant the acorn and then it starts growing then. But it would be like a fresh tree at the very end / beginning of each year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cody thinks it's okay. All right, last one.
I like trees.
The last one I'm going to call the Analema board. Have you heard of an Analema, Cody?
I don't know.
You might have. Okay, so the way it works is an Analema is a figure 8 that it can be drawn by tracing out the shadow of an object at a certain time of the day.
Oh yes, I've seen pictures of the sun throughout the year, and it makes that figure 8 in the sky.
You got it. Yeah. So that is a thing that happens, and the sun, as you know, it gets higher in the sky and gets highest at the summer solstice, and then it goes lower and lower in the sky and is lowest at the winter solstice. And when I say that, I mean at noon, like when it reaches its highest point is higher in the summer. So it rises and sets every day. But if you go and mark where the sun is at the exact same time of day every day, you can draw out an analemma. So it sort of goes up and down, and it wiggles sideways because of the fact that the Earth is going around the sun compared to the background stars. There's a little bit of a shift there. So you get a wobble. And it creates this really nice little figure eight. So you can do this, by the way, and for everybody listening, this is a good time to start. What you'd want to do is you could mark it off on the ground or on like a piece of wood that is sort of screwed into a surface. It's not good. You don't want it to move all year. And what you would do is every single day, go out at the exact same time of day and mark the shadow of the corner of a structure, like a building. And if you mark that every day, slowly it'll change position. And over the course of a year, you'll draw out this little figure eight, and that's an analemma. So what you can do with this idea is you can set up a board and draw out an analemma throughout the year. And throughout your year, you can like mark and decorate different important things that have happened throughout the year. And at the end of the year, you have this nice little analemma that has traced out everything that happened that year. And kind of like with the year tree, if it was a shitty year, you can burn your analemma. If not, you can keep it or decorate it. But that would be another cool traditional thing. And then you can save analemmas day to day or year to year. I will not save my analemmas. I have been moving all of my art studio, and I have so much crap that I haven't thrown away that I'm being very careful about making anything new. So, yeah, I'm not allowed to store my analemmas, but everybody else you can. So that's my third idea. So those are my traditions. What do you think, Cody? Would you do any of those?
Yeah, I think I get the tree one, and the analemma is pretty cool.
You're not going to boycott the calendar?
No.
Okay.
Time marches on.
I guess so.
Well, I just see that I think it'd get too commercialized too quick. I don't want to give them another reason to fucking commercialize them.
Yeah, but the whole idea is that no one can plan for those days because they're not even named. So you couldn't do anything on those days if you wanted to. That's the idea.
And somebody's just gonna start selling analemmas that you just buy and hang up every year.
Oh God, you're right. Yeah, for the lazy, for those kids that didn't do their homework and like quickly draw it for the 5 minutes before class starts. Yeah. Oh, this is my analemma from the whole last year.
It's funny that none of those traditions...
Ready-made.
The traditions that you came up with were more abstract, like you said, conceptual, than, say, describing an action that people would do to, like, as an excuse to drink, like some kind of wassailing type tradition.
I guess all of mine are kind of long-term art projects.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Social movements.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking too deep with these. I just need, I should have come up with a drinking game, and that would be the new tradition.
Well, like we've got Secret Santa Squatch going on the Discord. That's a tradition.
There you go. That's a good one.
Oh, another tradition that's going on, and it just started because we're recording this on December 2nd, so it started yesterday, is every year Monacan and his wife, they have a few different advent calendars. I think it's always like a Lego Star Wars and...
fun.
Yeah, there's a few different ones. And so they always open them and then post a picture of what each item is. But the picture specifically is their cat touching its teeth to the item in close-up because it has to inspect it. And then the last picture is always it gets a few different treats. And it's always a question like, what shape are the treats going to be tonight? And
that's cute. It's like a meme-ified
tradition. And so this has been going on in the Discord. And I think this might even be the 4th year that we've got.
I think I remember seeing that last year. That rings a bell.
Yeah, so if you're not on the Discord, but you want to, go somewhere where you can see a cute cat put its teeth to some random objects every evening from now until Christmas.
I like that their cat doesn't just sniff it. The cat doesn't bite it, but puts the teeth to it.
Well, it sniffs it on some, and sometimes it is like actually touching its canine teeth to the object. I think that cats do. Has your cat ever done that? It walks up and it'll press its teeth to you?
Yes. Yeah. My cat Luna does that. If she's trying to get my attention, she won't bite me, but she opens her mouth and just makes her jaw go into my arm. Which is as good as a bite because her teeth are sharp.
Yeah, the cat's just warning you.
I don't really appreciate that. Yeah, she's warning me. I could bite you, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Wait, pay attention to me. Yep, that's what she's saying.
Okay. Getting off topic.
Well, that's been Garth's Corner. Thanks for coming by, everybody. Hope you enjoyed.
Well, let's do a quick.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say a quick, just kind of. We didn't really actually touch on at all. This just be a quick comment on why we have traditions at all. Like, what is the? I mean, we joked about like the point of a tradition is to have the tradition, but they do serve a purpose. Like, there's a reason why people do things in repetition at certain times every year. And in the case of like wassailing, for example, it's a time of the year when you really want to reforge those communal ties in the community. It's a time when like people aren't really going outside. The weather's not good. So we're not having these outdoor gatherings that we would have in the better times of the year. So there's no public meetings that are really happening. This gives an excuse for you to go to your neighbor's house, come in, check on them, see how they're doing, and, share each other's good fortunes at this time. And so it feels good. It's a community bonding thing. And so that's why, at least, that's a function that they can serve.
I think you're absolutely right. I've always felt that way about like Christmas and other holidays of this time of the year. It is a gloomy time, and any excuse to come up with a reason to celebrate is going to be a huge relief. Like, all right, it might suck out, but we're going to have a party.
It also gives that sense of continuity. It ties you to your past. The idea that like, this is a thing that my grandparents did at the same time every year, and that I'm doing the same thing that they did. It kind of like connects us through time, right? And that feels good.
Yeah, it does.
Not to say that all traditions are good. There's some that should be done away with completely because they need to die. But
well, we keep all the traditions that we want to keep. There's no reason to ever keep a tradition just because it's tradition. But if you like, you take what you like, and every single generation gets to let go of some, and that's our prerogative.
So the other night, as I was researching this, Garth and his wife Kelly and his parents and my parents came to my house and decorated my yard with Christmas lights for me and Allison.
Yes.
To bring us some cheer. And when it started, I was like researching the Mari Llwyd and getting to the part where essentially it was describing it's like, and then a bunch of your rowdy neighbors and family show up in your yard and there's nothing you can do but deal with it. You just kind of have to accept it and entertain them.
That is perfect timing, because remembering doing that a couple days ago, we were being very loud and
then suddenly they're just in my yard.
We were disturbing whatever piece you had while researching, I'm sure.
We're all like calm and relaxed. Allison's resting, and then
we're here to bring cheer. Hey, Cody, blah 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 blah. Yeah.
I didn't offer you guys any alcohol, which I should have, because Allison doesn't drink anymore.
We should have wassailed.
And so I should have given you guys some. We've got some beer and some tequila that just sits around now.
Well, it can only get better over time.
Yeah.
That's maturating. Well, I hope that the lights were, we wanted to bring festive cheer, so hopefully it's bright and
I think the only thing that would have
nice
made it
in
a
the
little bit
evening.
better is if you had some kind of dead animal's head on a stick that you were puppeting at my door.
Shoot! I should have thought of that. Well, next year, maybe. Next year.
That's the tradition that we should start. There should be a
headless animal.
What if instead of some large animal we go? What if it is that somebody shows up with a mongoose puppet at your door?
The little animal.
Yeah, the
Little
mongoose.
skull.
Yeah, and its entourage. Well, it doesn't have to be a skull. I'm just saying, like, we don't have to have the dead animal. It could just be.
We don't have to have a taxidermy.
Yeah,
animal.
it could just be a mongoose that comes to your door, and you have to give it. Well, we already established that the Santa Squatch likes gingerbread mongoose cookies and yerba mate.
That's right. That's right.
So you have to, do something. A rap battle with the mongoose.
play-
I don't know.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, well, that's gonna do it for us technically for the year, because the next episode is gonna be a special. So this is our last regular episode.
Until the next year. Yeah, so tune in 2 weeks we'll be doing a special. Cody's described a bit of the plot to me, and I have a few ideas, so we're gonna work on that a bit.
Yeah, that has to happen.
Nope. It'll have to sometime in the next 2 weeks. We have to write, produce, and put sound effects and create an entire Sound play.
Yeah. Okay, well, until then, and until for the rest of the happy holidays to everybody.
You should probably list off the Monster Squadron.
Oh,
before we
yeah.
go. The Monster Squaddies are. Let me get out my bongos for a drum roll because I always have an instrument with me.
It's always in hand.
It's always in hand. Here we go. Okay, bringing my mic down to the bongos.
A cow's upper shoulder roast, a.k.a. Chuck. Travis Alexander. The Bi Barbarian. Rachel Krieger. Tom Dahl. Justin Duckham. Kelly Flynn. Gunnar Franks. Carla Harrington. Havelock. Christina Hurley. Ian. New Jared. Ken with 2 N's, or Monaken with 3. TJ Levenhagen. Alicia Overton. Jordan Ramey, a different one, but the same one. Blue Roan, SETI Fan, Tatum, and Zach S.
Yeah. Woo! Thanks, guys. Thank you, all you squaddies. We appreciate ya.
All right, well, happy holidays, happy new year, and until next time, remember,
I also have a harmonica. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Derailed completely.
I'm ready to say "is you." I'm gonna say it with the harmonica. Go, Cody.
I gotta do the setup again. That was so natural.
Yeah, it was really good.
Happy holidays and happy new year. And until next time, remember, the only thing that's haunted.
All right.
Okay, I don't know if that came through or not.
Yeah, it said "is you." You have to unfilter that part so that it sounds like it.
Okay, I'm stopping the recording.
The joke is only funny if the whole world is laughing at you.
Say goodbye.
Mas essa der Frisian yn mynd i Llanharan fydd doi bab ar wigan fawr bwlch yn yr hyrian sy'n dod o Thames Ditan yn Surrey. Mae'n werth bod ti'n cewi ac yn rhoi ddifynnu'r ac ofned i sythu a sachwen a beili ar lachwen a beili oes enw.
The Least Haunted podcast is recorded before a dead studio audience and is a presentation of Sequoidea Productions, LLC.